and others, who received him in the kingdom of God. He left this world at an early age. As an young boy, although he had attained the throne of his father and had several children of his own, because he was due to quit this world, death was waiting for him. He did not care for death. However, and even with his present body, he boarded a spiritual airplane and went directly to the planet of Vishnu because of his association with the sage Nārada, who had spoken to him the narration of the pastimes of the Lord. Next verse, I'll repeat myself. Ata atra api itihasaha ayam shruto me varnitah pura brahmana deva devena devanam anuprachyatam. The history of the fight between the Lord as a boar and the demon Hiranyaksha was heard by me in a year long ago, as it was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by the other demigods. Ditir dakshayani kshattar maricham kashyapam jatpatim apatya kamachakame sandhyayam hruchayardita. Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband Kashyapa, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. Ishtva agnijihvam payasa purusham yajusham patim nimlochati arka asinam agni aghare samahitam. The sun was setting and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire. Purport. Fire is considered to be the tongue of the Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and oblations of grains and clarified butter offered to the fire are thus accepted by him. So that is the principle of all sacrifices, of which Lord Vishnu is the master. In other words, the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu includes the satisfaction of all demigods and other living entities. Doesn't see Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. So the context is being set for the inquiry, the purpose of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu's birth in this material world. So here Maitreya is elaborating on the circumstances. So he is saying, Yaya Uttānapādo putra. So the son of Uttānapāda, Dhruva Maharaj, Munina Gitaya Arbakaha. This boy, he was only a child, mere child, Arbakaha. So he is being instructed by Munina Gita. Nārada Muni instructed him in the science of devotion service. Mrutyo Krutvaiva Murdhani Angrim. So he was so capable enough that he was able to place his feet, Angrim, Mrutyo Murdhani, on the head of death. Aruroha Hare Padam. So what he was crossing over by placing his feet on the death, he went to the abode of the Lord by placing his feet on the head of the death, personified. Then further it says, Ata atra api itihasaha ayam Shrutome Varnita Pura. Formerly, Pura, the same itihasam, the purpose of this inquiry, what he had asked me, this history. Shrutome, I had heard this. From whom? Brahmana Deva Devena. From whom did I hear? I heard it from Lord Brahma, who is the master of the demigods. Devanam Anuprachyatam. So who inquired from Brahma? It was the Devatas, the demigods. When they had inquired from Lord Brahma, the purpose of the disturbance in this material world, in that context, Lord Brahma had elaborated the circumstances, and I heard it directly from Lord Brahma. Ditir Dakshayani Kshattar. Oh my dear Vidra, Diti, who is son of Daksha, Dakshayani, Marichim Kashyapam Patim, and her husband was Kashyapa, who is son of Marichi. Apatya Kama Chakame. So she had desired to have children, Apatya Kamaha, to have an offspring. Chakame, she was longing for it, to have a son. Sandhyayam Hruchaya Arditaha. So because of sexual desire in the evening, she became very distressed. Arditaha. Then, Ishtva Agni Jihvam Payasa. So after worshipping fire, Ishtva, Agnim, the sacrificial fire. Payasa, by offering oblations into that fire. Purusham Yajusham Patim. He worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality, Lord Hari. Nimlochiti Arka Asinam. So what was the situation at that time? Nimlochati Arkaha. The sun was setting in the evening time. Nimlochati Arka Asinam. He was seated. Agni Aghare, in front of the sacrificial fire, in the sacrificial hall. Samahitam, completely in trance. So what was his mood? Kashyapa Muni. So he was in very peaceful situation, meditating upon the Lord after offering oblations to the fire, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through sacrifice. He was meditating upon the Lord in a very peaceful situation. So this is the context that was set up now. Now in the reference it was given that of Dhruva Maharaj, how he had achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead by placing his feet on the head of the death. So in Bhagavatam, the 4th canto elaborately describes about Dhruva Maharaj's characteristics and his pastimes and the verses which he had used for glorifying the Lord. So we all know, we all heard about him. So in context wise, at the last moment, what had happened? So he had ruled this material world for 36,000 years. So then he was fully equipped with all the good qualities of the great devotees, because he is a Mahapurusha, Mahabhagavata. So Bhagavatam glorifies Tameva Sheela Sampannam. He is enriched with all good qualities, characteristics, Sheela Sampannam. Brahmanyam Deenavatsalam, and he is very favorable to the Brahmanas, and he is very compassionate to the poor, Deenavatsalam. Goptaram Dharma Setunam, and he is the protector of the religious principles, and he is protector of the devotional perspectives. Goptaram, he is the maintainer, protector. Menire Pritaram Prajaha, and he was considered to be direct father of all citizens. Menire, everybody considered. Prajah Pitaha, all the people in the kingdom thought he is our father. He is maintaining us like our father. So they all treated him like his father. Then further it says, Sat Trimshat Varsha Sahasram, 36,000 years. Shashasha Kshiti Mandalam, he had ruled this entire universe. Sorry, Kshiti Mandala, the entire this earthly planet. For 36,000 he had ruled. Bogai Punyakshayam Kurvan. So while he was ruling the kingdom, what he was doing? Bogai Punyakshayam Kurvan. All his past activities, he is reducing them by enjoyment. Abhoger Ashubhakshayam. And by practicing austerities, he was diminishing all his inauspicious reactions. Because in this material world, we always have two things, reactions. Karma, akarma, vikarma. Papa, punya. Every activity, we get these two kinds of reactions. And it is said that when we have to go to the spiritual world, our account should be zero. We should have neither punya nor papa. So what was Dhruva Maharaj doing? By enjoying, he is removing all his punya karma. By tapasya, he is removing all his papa karmas also, if there is any. Generally, to set an example. How to live in this world so that our account is zero, so that once we quit this body, we will become become qualified of going back home, back to God. So what was his realization when he was there in this material world? When he was ruling? He was thinking this entire material manifestation is meant only to bewilder the living entities, to make them engrossed into this world, to make them into bondage of cycle of birth and with family, affection, attraction and all. And he was feeling this is like a dream of phantasmagoria. This material world in reality is like a dream, which is because of the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Because the living entity, he is in sleep state. And he has given the power of attorney to the body-mind system. So they are running the show. So in that perspective, the living entity is like a dreaming state. He has given the attorney and he is just visualizing what is happening to him. But because he has given the authority to the body-mind system, so body-mind system is making him run around in this material world. So he was so elevated. Atmasri apatya suhrudo balam ruddhakosham antapuram parivihara bhuvasya ramyaha bhumandalam jaladi mekalam akalaya kalopasushtam iti sa prayayo vishalam. So bhumandalam akalaya, his entire kingdom surrounded all the land and all the 7 oceans. Bhumandalam. So it became his entire kingdom as entire Bhumandalam. Then Jalabdi Mekalam, and it is bounded by great oceans. Then Atmasri Apatya Suhrudo Balam Ruddhakosham Antahpuram Parivihara Bhuvasya Ramyaha. See, he was treating everything, his body, his wife, Atma, body, then Stri, wife, Apatya, children, Suhrudaha, his friends, Balam, his army, Ruddhakosham, his rich treasury, Antapuram, his very comfortable palaces, Parivihara Bhuvascha, and his enjoyable pleasure grounds, Charamyaha, to be creations of Maya. See, everything connected to him, he was treating them as they are all creations of Maya. Kalopasushtam itihi, in due course of time, Kala upasushtaha. Saprayayo Vishalam. He quit his family life and went away to Badrikashrama. He is setting a standard. There is a family life and there is a life meant for dedication to the Lord completely. So, by setting an example to the people in general, not to be attached to the last moment, even though all the things were there, he was saying, he was at the last moment, he treated that they are all as a bondage for me. He wanted to come out of this perspective and he quit them. He went to Badrikashrama. There, in the association of the great sages, staying in a sanctified place near river Saraswati, and all great rivers there, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, they all flow in Badrikashrama area. He started engaging in austerities. So 3 times taking bath, eating only bare minimum necessities. So in that way, completely meditating upon the Supreme Lord. So he came to a situation where he developed ecstatic symptoms. His body was full with Ashtasattvika Vikara. So because of his transcendental bliss, intense tears started flowing out. And his heart melted and his hair was shivering and standing. These are the symptoms of Ashtasattvika Vikara. Thus he transformed into in a trance of devotion service. He completely forgot his bodily existence. And he became liberated from material bondage. Jivan mukta sa uchyate. So, as soon as he became liberated, he saw a spiritual airplane descending towards him from the Vaikunta, a transcendental airplane. And this airplane was as brilliant as a full moon, and it illuminated all the 10 directions. Dasha Disha, Vibrajayat. So, what he saw in that transcendental airplane, he saw 2 beautiful personalities. They are known as Nanda Sunanda. They are eternal associates of the Lord. The personal associates of the Lord, Parshado. And they were Navayavano of equal age, Samana Vayaso. Both of them had 4 arms. Then their body is blackish in color. They were very youthful. Their eyes were like reddish lotus flowers. And they held clubs in their hands. And they were dressed in very attractive garments with helmets and decorated with necklaces, bracelets and earrings. This describes about the Vaikunta personalities. How their bodily features are, what their bodily color is, what abharanas they are all wearing. So, since he was always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Padhabhi Nivistaha, his heart was always full of Krishna. So, when he saw that 2 associates of the Lord, out of ecstasy, he forgot what is happening to him. He could not receive them as an etiquette, how it has to be done. See, when we are in too much anxiety or we are in too much happiness, so we lose our consciousness of doing our activities. When we are in anxiety, can we do our activities properly? So when we are in excessive happiness also, we will not be able to do activities properly. So similarly now, because he was in excessive happiness by having seen the personal associates of the Lord, so he forgot the etiquette. So how to receive them, what to be spoken to them. So he was standing there just folding his hands and he was continuously shedding the tears. He approached them smilingly with folded hands, bowing humbly. Then they addressed him as follows. They said, "My dear Dhruva, so none of your family members had achieved a position which was granted to you." So what was the aspiration of Dhruva? He wanted a kingdom which was ruled by none of his grandfather, great-grandfather could ever achieve. So that is beyond Brahma's perspective. So his grandfather is Brahma and he wanted a kingdom none of his family members had ever ruled. Is it practically possible in this material world to have a position beyond Brahma? But Lord had sanctioned him. Lord gave him an opportunity to reside in Vaikunta, where Lord stays, Svetadvipa. The Lord created a specific place for him and he made him the king of that planet and he made the entire universe rotate that planet, that specific place, Dhruva Nakshatra. So the associates were glorifying the capacities of Dhruva Maharaj. And they said, to achieve Vishnu Loka or Vaikunta Loka is very difficult. Sudurjayam Vishnu Padam. But Jitam Tvaya, you have conquered this by your austerity to the Lord. By your tapasya, you are able to achieve this. Yat Surayo Aprapyaha, even great rishis and demigods, it is very difficult to them to achieve this position. Vichakshate Param, to just have an audience of the supreme spiritual abode, Tat Chandra Diva Akharadayo Graha Arka Taraha. All the demigods, they approach up to the ocean of milk ocean. They cannot enter into Vaikunta, it seems. They approach up to the shore of the milk ocean and they offer prayers to the Lord. So when they offer prayers, sometimes Lord will come out, or most of the times the message is passed on to the heart of Brahma. Even when Lord appears there, it becomes very difficult for them to have, they only see a glaring light. They are not able to perceive the form of the Lord. Only Brahma will get the information what he has to execute. So when he saw that airplane, which is like a specific building and which is like jeweled and all the glories there in that celestial airplane, Etad Vimana Pravaram Uttama Shloka Maulina Upasta Apitam Ayushman Adirodam Tvam Arahasi. They said to him, "O my dear Ayushman, O immortal one, Etad Vimana Pravaram Upastapitam." The Supreme Lord had sent this beautiful airplane for your purpose. Then Uttama Shloka Maulina, the Supreme Lord who is worshipped by choice poetry and he is the chief of all living entities. So, Adirodam Tvam Arhasi, you are qualified to ascend into this airplane. Tvam Arhasi, you are qualified. So then Maitreya started explaining there the context. He says, Nishamya Vaikunta Niyojya Mukayor, by hearing from the mouths of the associates of Lord Vishnu from Vaikunta, Madhuchutam Vacham Urukrama Priyaha, who are all very dear to Lord Urukramaha, and Madhuchutam Vacham, whose words are like nectar, sweet nectar. Kruta Abhishekaha Kruta Nitya Mangalaha. So he went, took bath, Kruta Abhishekaha. Then Kruta Nitya Mangalaha, he offered his daily prayers and oblations. Munina Pranamya Ashisham Abhyavadaya. Then he went and he took blessings from all the sages there. And he offered obeisances to them and he accepted their blessings. So in that context, Prabhupada says, so generally in a group when we practice, if one person achieves how his response will be towards others? Will it be show off? Generally, it will be in the material world. So you can go and say, see, I got it. You are all doing from so much times. I am successful. Like we want to take the credit. But here Dhruva Maharaj, no. He was never exhibiting them. He went to them and humbly prayed to them, offered respects, and he said, by all of your blessings, I was able to achieve success. Humility in life. When we achieve something, it is need not be that because of my capacity it has been achieved. So by the blessings of Vaishnavas only we will be able to achieve. So there were two friends who, one was a great devotee, the other one was a not. So both were placed in an island. So one who was not, he was having little arrogance. Everything is done by me, he was thinking. The other one, whatever is happening, he used to pray to the Lord and he says, oh my Lord, it is because of you what I am. So both of them had a competition. So they made the island into two parts. This person said, one who was not a devotee, he was saying, see, whatever I want, I will get. And this person also, let us see who will get what. Some competition style. The first one, night, he was thinking, I should see, it was night in the island, I should get some food. So next day morning when he got up, he saw a bunch of bananas there and some tender coconuts fallen from the tree. So he was thinking, see, I desired and I got it. And the next person, nothing was there in front of his hut. So after eating all these things and all, next day he thought, I want some clothes, because with one pair only we have landed up here. We wanted some clothes. So next day morning when he got up, he saw one suitcase lying there. It came ashore and some suitcase was there with all the clothes required. So he became very happy. See, as soon as I desired clothes, clothes came up here. Then third day, he desired, see, staying alone is not good. I require a boat so that I can go around. So next day he saw one boat with a paddle lying there at the shore. Then he started criticizing that devotee. See, I desired and everything was there at my facility. And for you, from 3 days there is no food, there is no dress. And what is that? What Lord is doing for you? So after some time, this person got into the boat and he started plowing in the ocean. So when he was doing all these things, at that one particular point, he saw there was a hole into that boat. Water started seeping in. At that particular point, he realized, no, he will not be able to go further. Then he realized, I am at the point of death. Then he remembered the Lord. Oh my Lord, please pray. Please help me. Please help me. So feeling compassionate, Lord gave him in a voice, ethereal voice, and he said, I will protect you, but you should be very grateful. Oh, what happened, Lord? You are always criticizing your friend. Do you think everything was possible because of you? Your friend was praying for you. Whatever my friend desires, please provide, oh my Lord. That's why I was providing you all these facilities. Not that because of your capability you are getting all these things. Understood? See, it is not that sometimes our own endeavor, the well-wishers' endeavors are also, blessings are also required for us to proceed in spiritual life. So in that context, Dhruva Maharaj saying, it's not because of my endeavor only, all of your blessings were there because of which I was successful. That humble attitude we should always maintain. So then before getting into the airplane, he offered obeisances to the airplane, he circumambulated the airplane, he worshipped the demigods he worshipped that associates there. And finally, when he was about to enter into the airplane, his body became golden in color. It transformed himself into a spiritual body. At that particular point, he saw, Tada Uttānapādo putro Dadarsha antakam gatam. At that particular point, he saw the antakam, the death personified, coming towards him. Mrutyor murdani padam datva. So he placed his feet on the body of, on the head of Mrutyo. Aruroha adbhutam griham. Then he ascended into that spiritual airplane, adbhutam griham, which is very wonderful, by placing his feet onto the body of the death personified. The principle is, in the material world, if you have to quit this material body and we have to go to the spiritual world, so there is a rule, general rule. So here the death personified, Dhruva Maharaj stamping on the death personified means he left his material perspectives and achieved the spiritual body. So by placing his feet on the death personified means he quit his material perspectives here and he attained that spiritual platform of spiritual body, and his body transformed into spiritual body, and he went back home, back to God. So in one place it says, so this is regarding the desires and sensuality what devotees have, what people have. So one should mold his life so far to always think of Krishna. Ena tena prakarena manah Krishna nivshevayat. This is our general principle. We should always think of the Lord. Always think of Krishna and never forget him. And this is our principle. So our whole life should be dedicated in understanding Krishna. Then people say, why then can't we think of Krishna all the time? Because our consciousness is polluted. That's why we are not able to think of the Lord. Our heads are full of kinds of nonsense which blocks our remembrance to the Lord. Like for example, we all sit in a place where Krishna Katha is going on. But one particular point can trigger us and take away from Krishna Katha. Material, so it's like we are all sitting here and we are all talking. Suddenly somebody's mobile rings. And that mobile ringtone will be some latest song. And as soon as we hear that song, our mind will go to visualization of that song. So we all get lost into that material perspective. So why? Because our mind has been contaminated in that perspective. Like for example, first time when caller tones started, people started subscribing to caller tones. One is ringtone, another is caller tone. So when we used to call people, so people used to put cinema songs because we are not calling devotees. We have to call donors. So they used to put cinema songs. And 10 times you hear that cinema song. What will be your consciousness? 11th time, automatically you will sing that song. This is subtle configuration happening to our mind. Because you have been knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, you are attending to that. Because when he lifts the call, you will get to know only then. So you have to be very attentive in hearing. So this is the thing, how we become carried away. So this contamination begins with sex desire. So Prabhupada stated, if one can get free from sex desire, he is 50% liberated. As much we are afflicted by sex desire, that much we cannot remember Lord Krishna. So until we become completely reject sense gratification, physical and mental, once for all, we will not be able to fix our intelligence. So Drudha Bhakti, the principle of having unflinching devotional service, is explained in 7th chapter 28 sloka. Esham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmuktaha bhajante mam drudhavrataha. So when these three things are there, then drudhavrataha bhakti will come. Esham tva antagatam papam, we should be free from all sinful reactions. Jananam punya karmanam, we should engage in all pious activities, deity related activities. Te dvanda nirmuktaha, we should be free from all dualities of material world. When these three conditions are applied, then bhajante mam drudhavrataha, that strong devotional service or unflinching devotional service develops within us. Sometimes Prabhupada also used to give example like in his perspective while he was preaching. The context-wise, he used to explain in relativity. So, for a businessman, Prabhupada was giving example of a business person itself. So there was one Mr. Mota, a businessman. Prabhupada said to him, according to Chanakya Pandit, even if you spend crores of rupees at the time of death, you will still cannot get one moment more back. Ayushapa kshanamapi swarna koti nalabhyate. So even if you spend crores of rupees, you will not get back 1 second back from the time. So Prabhupada was saying, every moment is worth crores of rupees. The time that is spent in Krishna consciousness is profit, and the time that is not spent in Krishna consciousness is a loss. Make a balance sheet and see the profit and loss at the end of the life. Then you will use all your time only in Krishna consciousness. Like how Prabhupada was preaching to a perspective, you see. For a man who is interested only in profit and loss. So Prabhupada is saying, what is real profit and what is loss? Any activity is connected with Krishna is the profit. Anything not connected with Krishna is a loss. So at the end of your life, at the end of the day, every day you calculate your profit and loss. At the end of the year, you calculate profit and loss. At the end of your life, you have to calculate your profit and loss. See whether you are in profit or in your loss, or else you are making your life waste. So this is what Prabhupada says is common sense preaching. We have to preach to the circumstances, and we have to preach to the person in a language he can understand. So sometimes devotees also, there was some context-wise, some funny things happen in midst of serious devotional service. So there was one devotee who had just visited the temple. So that day it was Narasimha Jayanti. So activities were being celebrated very nicely. So after the Abhishekam, they had planned a drama on Lord Narasimha Deva. And incidentally, they had not practiced. So before performing the play, they had not practiced. So they were assembling people from that crowd. You do this character, you do this character. And this devotee was selected to play the character of Lord Narasimha Deva. So because this devotee is already experienced, he knew the story. They just gave him the lines. He understood. They said to him, you have to stand within the pillar, and when your indication is given, you should come out. So there will be one devotee, Hiranyakashipu, who will be there. You catch him, grab him, put him on your lap, and there will be some sponge. You tear it apart. Scene has been verbally been explained. Now what happened? The mask what was given to him, it had very small holes. So he was not able to see what is happening. So he got the cue. He came out of the pillar. Then he was roaming around everywhere. He could not catch where is Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was roaming around and Narasimha was trying. You know that juggle happens between both of them. Finally, he caught hold of somebody and he was trying to rip apart because he was told there will be a sponge here. You have to rip the sponge. So something got to him and he started opening up. And after some time, the stage was suddenly closed and some devotees came immediately. So when he opened his mask, he opened the dhoti of that devotee. And that another devotee has to come and bring some chadar and cover that person. See, it's a serious perspective, but what happened, a small mistake. How deviate, like it's an enjoyment, okay, for devotees, it's an enjoyment, but the small things are also very much important. You have been taught, you have been told, but this setup is not favorable for that circumstance. Similarly, something funny will also happen in life. You know how Ganesha got married? So this is a funny story again. You know Lord Ganesha, his personality, little hefty personality with the elephant face. So he was desperately wanted to get married. So he was reaching to everyone and nobody was interested in him because by his physique or by his facials. So he was being rejected everywhere. Over a period of time, it became so subtly in his consciousness that he was disturbed in such a way that nobody was marrying and all the other demigods were getting married. He became so frustrated. If I cannot get married, nobody should get married. So he started disturbing the situation because he is a mighty personality and he is a great personality, and he is the one who removes the obstacles in any events in the material world perspectively. So what he was doing, he asked all the rats, his servants, so you go and dig up the entire road where the demigods are going to the house of the bride. The bridegroom is going to the house of the bride. You dug up the entire road, or you go and disturb the entire platform arena where they are going to, marriage is going to happen, like that. Every marriage he was finding means and ways how to disturb that marriage. So the demigods all became afraid. Now what to do? So they cannot go and convince him. So finally they went to Lord Brahma and requested him, my dear sir, please find a solution to this. So Lord Brahma also contemplated for the situation for a long time. Then he finally came up to a conclusion and he said that from his mind he created two daughters, Riddhi, Siddhi, and he handed over them to Ganesha for marriage. Through Riddhi, Siddhi, Ganesha got married and he had two children, two sons, Shubha, Labha. That's why generally they see these personalities. So what does that represent? Ganesha represents, when Ganesha got married, peace prevailed everywhere. So Shubha means auspiciousness and Labha means profit. Riddhi means goddess of wealth and prosperity, and Siddhi means intellectual and spiritual prowess. And their mother is Parvati, Santoshi Mata, which means goddess of satisfaction. So sometimes, see, circumstances wise, even demigods of great capacity, even they will not be getting favorable things for them. So sometimes some testing situations might be there. We have to be very careful. So one devotee was sharing his experience. So there was one CNN news photographer who got a phone call that he was asked to come to the local airport, and there was a chartered flight. So it would be a twin engine plane would be waiting for him at the airport. So arriving at the airfield, he spotted a plane. It was warming up outside the hangar. He jumped inside with his bag and he shut the door and he shouted, "Let's go." The pilot taxied it out. He swung the plane into the wind and he took off. So once in the air, the photographer instructed the pilot, fly over the valley and make low passes so that I can take pictures of the fires on the hillsides. The pilot asked, why? This person said, because I am a photographer for CNN and I need to get some close-up shots. The pilot was silent strangely for a moment, and he said, finally he stammered, so you are telling me that you are not my flight instructor. So understand? So whom you accept as your guru or a captain of ship, don't quickly accept the first person who seems to look good. So we have to be very careful whom we take guidance from. Suddenly you land up in the airplane, some situation like that. Not that every good looking person might be your well-wisher. So spiritual life is such a way that you have to deliberate and you have to come to the conclusions on authority, on experience. Randomly it will not happen. So nothing happens free. Everything comes with a price tag. So let us become strong, grow our experience and take guidance from all the other devotees to become advanced in our spiritual life. So I'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణవాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణవాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 913310